Let's talk about something that's been called financial magic, a secret weapon for building wealth, and maybe one of the most powerful forces in the universe. I'm talking about compound interest. And hey, don't worry, this isn't going to be some dry, boring math class. This is about understanding a principle so powerful it can literally change your entire financial future. Think about it. We all work hard, right? Putting in the hours, grinding away. But is our money doing the same? For a lot of us, it feels like we're just running on a hamster wheel, working like crazy but not really getting anywhere. What if there was a way to make your money work for you, 24/7, even when you're sleeping? Well, that's the incredible promise of compound interest we're going to unpack right now. You've probably heard this quote before, often linked to Einstein, and it just perfectly nails it. Compound interest is a two-sided coin. It can be your absolute best friend when it comes to growing wealth, or if we're talking about debt like credit cards, it can be your worst enemy. Our goal today is simple, to make sure you're firmly on the earning it side of that equation. All right, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with a simple idea, the snowball. Then we'll watch it play out in a two-investor race. We'll see why time is your secret weapon, hit some major tipping points, lay out a simple action plan, and wrap it all up with some classic wisdom from Warren Buffett. Okay, first up, the snowball effect. I want you to picture this. You're at the top of a huge snowy mountain. You bend down, pack a small snowball, and give it a little nudge. At first it's slow, almost pathetic. But as it starts rolling, it picks up more snow, getting bigger and faster. Pretty soon, that little snowball is a giant boulder, and it's unstoppable. That, right there, is exactly how compound interest works. So, what is this stuff, really? Put simply, it's interest on interest. You earn a return on your original cash, sure, but then your earnings start earning their own returns. It's a chain reaction. Your money starts working, and then the money it makes gets a job too. The whole thing just builds on itself. And this is the absolute key. We're not talking about slow, steady, straight-line growth. We're talking about exponential, accelerating growth. Just like that snowball, your wealth doesn't just get bigger, it picks up speed. It can feel super slow at the beginning, almost like nothing's happening. And then, all of a sudden, it becomes this incredible, powerful force. So, theory is one thing, but let's see this in action. To really get a feel for this, we're going to stage a little race between two different investors. This is going to show you the massive difference between letting your money compound versus just taking the profits and running. So here are the rules. Both investors, A and B, start with the exact same $10,000. They put it in the same investment, earning a solid 7% a year, and they both stick with it for 30 years. Here's the one tiny difference. Investor A takes that $700 in interest out every single year. Investor B, they just leave it in there. They let it ride. Okay, fast forward 30 years. What's the final score? Investor A, who took the cash each year, made an extra $21,000. Hey, not bad. But Investor B, just by letting those earnings get reinvested, ended up with over $66,000 in pure profit. That's more than triple the returns, all because of that one simple choice to let the interest compound. Now, that last example was pretty powerful, but there's another ingredient in this recipe that's even more important. In fact, you could say it's the single most critical factor in this whole thing, and that ingredient is time. Check this out, because this example is absolutely mind-blowing. Look at Investor A. Starts at 25, invests $500 a month for just 10 years, and then stops. Total invested $60,000. Now look at Investor B. Starts 10 years later at 35, invests the same amount, but does it for 30 years straight. They put in $180,000, 3 times as much money. And the result? The early starter who invested way less money ends up with more. How? Because their money had an extra decade for that snowball to roll and grow. And this, right here, is why you hear so many people say, man, I wish I had learned this stuff in high school. That head start you get is literally priceless. The money you invest in your 20s is just so much more powerful than the money you invest later on, simply because it has more time to do the work for you. So we've established this isn't a straight line. It's a curve that gets steeper and steeper. And along that curve, there are these really cool milestones, these tipping points where your growth really shifts into a whole new gear. This is when you can actually feel your money working harder than you are. The first, and honestly the most critical tipping point, is $100,000. Why that number? Because this is the moment where the returns your money generates all by itself become truly significant. It's the threshold where that compounding engine just roars to life. Let's break that down. Once you have 100 grand invested, a pretty standard 6% return will generate $6,000 a year. That's $500 a month that your money just made for you, without you lifting a finger. That could be a car payment, a big chunk of your rent, all generated by your existing capital. At this point, your money is probably earning more for you than many people can even manage to save. And after that first big one, it just gets crazier. The next major tipping points are around 650 and then a million. But here's the wild part. Getting to that first 100,000 isn't just 10% of the way to a million. Because of compounding, it's actually the hardest part. Every 100,000 after that comes faster and faster. Okay, understanding all this is great, but how do you actually put it to work? Well, it's probably a lot simpler than you think. Here's a super straightforward 3-step action plan to get this compounding machine working for you. Step 1, start as early as you possibly can. As we just saw, starting early can literally be more powerful than investing more money later. Step 2, reinvest all your earnings. This is the fuel for the engine. Almost all brokerage accounts let you do this automatically, so just set it and forget it. And step 3, avoid crazy risks. Compounding loves consistency, not wild, get-rich-quick gambles. Slow and steady absolutely wins this race. To wrap things up, let's turn to the master of compounding himself, Warren Buffett. I mean, his entire success is a textbook example of this principle, and he has this brilliant mental model for making smart, long-term decisions. Buffett learned pretty early on that buying cheap, crummy businesses, what he called cigar butts, the kind you find on the street with one puff left in them, was a huge mistake. Why? Well, you might get one cheap puff, but you can't compound a terrible business. But a truly wonderful business? Time is its best friend. Time just magnifies its greatness. So, how do you make sure you're picking those wonderful businesses? Buffett has this incredible thought experiment. Imagine you get a punch card with only 20 holes in it, and that's it. That's all the investments you get to make for your entire life. If you had to be that picky, you wouldn't just jump on some hot tip you heard at a party, right? No way. You treat every single decision with intense focus. You do your homework, you think long-term, and when you finally found a great opportunity, you'd make it count. This mindset forces you to have discipline and patience, the two things you need for compounding to work its magic. So let's just do a quick recap. What are the big takeaways here? 1. Start as early as you can. Yesterday was great, but today is the next best thing. 2. Reinvest everything and automate it. 3. Be patient. Let time do the heavy lifting for you. 4. Make that first 100K tipping point your primary goal. And 5. Think like Buffett. Be selective. Pretend you've only got 20 punches on your card. And we'll end with this thought. That massive, unstoppable snowball of wealth we've been talking about all starts with one tiny, hand-packed snowball and a little push. It doesn't matter if it's $50 a month or just the decision to turn on automatic reinvesting. The most important part is just to start. So what's the first small step you can take today to get your own snowball rolling?